All right, you guys. So let's talk about the criticisms that's been coming out of the new Michael Jackson biopic that's supposed to be coming out uh, in a couple weeks. Now, um, you know, it's titled Michael. It's directed by Antoine Fuqua, and it stars his nephew Jafar Jackson in the lead role. It's scheduled for theatrical release on April the 24th of this year. Now, it has faced significant pre-release criticism, and that's primarily centered on how it handles or avoids the more controversial aspects of Michael Jackson's life, including long-standing child, allegations, right? So, basically, and I'm just reading to you guys from the actual reports. And then you can break it down yourself. But these are the things that's being reported on this entire situation with, Michael Jackson. You know what I'm saying? So basically, it stems from major production changes. Let's just be honest. Now, reports are indicating that the original script included a substantial third act focus on those accusations against Michael Jackson, including scenes involving investigators searching the Neverland Ranch. However, attorneys for Michael Jackson's estate identified a clause in a legal settlement with one accuser related to Jordan Chandler. Much of that material was reportedly scrapped. Now, this led to roughly $15 million in reshoots and a rewritten ending, with the film now reportedly concluding around the bad era of 1987, while Michael Jackson was still at the peak of his fame, avoiding deeper engagement with later scandals. Now, critics and commentators are arguing that this results in a whitewashed or sanitized portrayal that prioritizes glorification of Michael Jackson's musical genius and performances over a balanced or unflinching look at his personal life and legal troubles. Now, outlets like the New York Post have called it shameful, obfuscation that fails to illuminate the deeper existence of his subject, potentially turning it into a guilty watch for audiences aware of the omissions. Now, some online discussions also describing it as feeling like a generic biopic, right? With concerns about diluted storytelling and rushed pacing due to the changes. Now, the family members have also publicly criticized this. Paris Jackson, Michael Jackson's daughter, has slammed it as full-blown lies, sugar-coated, and filled with inaccuracies, claiming zero involvement and alleging the narrative is controlled in a way that panders to certain fans living in fantasy rather than reality. Now, she has framed it as typical Hollywood biopics that are not truthful. Now, reports also suggest tensions within the broader Michael Jackson family, including disapproval from Janet Jackson and rifts involving other relatives over the film's direction and estate control. Now, I did hear something different about Janet. This is just me. I heard something different about Janet Jackson lately, that she wasn't really going to be tripping too much, but who knows? We wait and see. It also saying that additional backlashes, including accusations of poor organization and production, discovering the legal issue late, broader debates about whether musical biopics can responsibly handle complex legacies, especially in the wake of documentaries like Leaving Neverland. Now, some view the reshoots as evidence of the estate prioritizing a positive imagery over artistic integrity. Now, also, despite the controversies, the first reactions from the screenings have been largely enthusiastic, right? So many have been praising Jafar Jackson's performance as uncanny, spiritual, or war-worthy, along with the strong musical sequences, attention to detail, and recreating iconic moments, production design, and emotional impact, with some audience reportedly singing and dancing. Now, some call it one of the best biopics in years, or the ultimate love letter to fans, while noting it touches on darker elements like Joe Jackson's alleged abusiveness played by Coleman Domingo. Minor nitpicks include pacing issues and somewhat unsatisfying ending. Now, the film is positioned as celebrating Michael Jackson's artistry while addressing some flaws, but its handling of the allegations remain a flashpoint. Now, the full critic reviews are not available widely yet, but some are suggesting that the studio's confidence in early reactions, right? But the public discourse is expected to be polarized upon wider release, potentially boosting box office interest amid the debate. Now, You have to note that Michael Jackson was acquitted of certain criminal charges in 2005 and denied allegations throughout his life. Opinions on the topic remain deeply divided, right? So this biopic has reignited all of these discussions now. So now it has taken you back, right? It has taken you back to all the different allegations that Michael Jackson has had, right? And things that Michael Jackson has said, and things that people have accused Michael Jackson of, even outside of that case, right? And so that right there is a big topic of discussion. Key, and I'm reading from the reports right here, is, and we talked about this a couple of days ago on this channel, but the key is Jordan Chandler, those allegations in 1993, right? So, and that's the part where they was alleging that they have cut it off in the biopic from even going to that part, and they've cut off all the controversies and stuff, so they're saying it's not a real biopic. It's getting a lot of criticism for that. You know what I'm saying? I'm reading the reports just myself, but anyways, the Jordan Chandler allegations was from 93, and they claimed that Michael Jackson basically, violated him, when he wasn't of age. And so these were the first major public allegations against Michael Jackson, and that led to an intense media scrutiny, a criminal investigation, a civil lawsuit, and an out-of-court settlement that happened from Michael Jackson. Now, he consistently denied those allegations throughout his life, was never criminally charged in that case, and I'm going to tell y'all why, right? And then he had a different case in 2005 that he got acquitted of on entirely different charges. Now, the initial friendship, Michael met this person, Chandler Jordan, and who was born in 1980 in May of 1992 or 1993, per some accounts. So after Jordan's stepfather's car rental business interaction, right? Now, the friendship grew quickly, with Jordan, his mother June, and sister Lily spending significant time with Michael Jackson at the Neverland Ranch in Las Vegas and elsewhere. Now, they reportedly shared beds on many occasions, with the family awareness of this, which it blows my mind that the family could be aware of that. And, Michael even talked about that. That bothered me. Like, Michael, he was cool with that. I'm like, bro, you cool with that, bro? And I know a lot of people try and get mad at me in the comment section. He said that out of his own mouth. He said he had no problem with these. You live in a ranch with 30, 40 bedrooms, but they got to all sleep in your bed? And I ain't talking about the adults. Make it make sense. And he went on a Martin Bashir interview and told people straight up, with a straight face, if you have a problem with me laying down with your youngin', you're wacky. Something wrong with you. And because, people praise celebrity, they was cool with this. This isn't me saying it. Michael said that. He said that. So anyways, they said that the parents knew he was in the bed with they youngin', which Michael described as innocent and non-sexual. Now, his father, the boy's father, Evan Chandler, he was a dentist and aspiring screenwriter himself. He initially encouraged their relationship, but later grew suspicious and very hostile of Michael Jackson, meaning that he encouraged his son to get close to Michael and everything, but then later he grew suspicious and very hostile, right? Now, tensions arose amid a custody dispute between the father and the mother. Now, on August the 2nd, 1993, during a dental procedure, Evan, he basically sedated Jordan with, something, and asked if, Michael had, violated him, touched him. And Jordan says yes. And Jordan later told psychiatrist Dr. Matthias Abrams that Michael Jackson had did this over several months. He had basically violated him over several months, describing acts of kissing, fondling, choking a chicken, and oral. Now, Abrams reported this to the authorities as required by law. So Jordan repeated similar claims to the police and a social worker. Now, the LAPD, they opened an investigation. Michael Jackson was in Asia on his Dangerous World Tour when the news broke publicly on August the 24th, 1993. Now, he denied the claims in a televised statement, calling them a big lie. In December of 1993, he underwent a strip search at his ranch, where photos of his beefcake were taken and compared to the description that Jordan, the youngin, gave, which reportedly included details of certain markings that Michael Jackson had on his area and other areas, right? Now, the detectives, right, claimed that those descriptions matched. The descriptions that the boy gave matched the photos. Now, Michael Jackson's team came out and they said, oh, no, this is cap, blah, 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 right? Now, the boy got the settlement and no charges resulted from that investigation, as the police came out and said that when the boy refused to testify and his parents took him, when he refused to testify after they got that $23 million settlement, the case was over with because he wouldn't testify. So Michael Jackson and the boy's family reached a civil settlement where it was reported that he basically settled around $23 million, right? So he put 15.3 of that in a trust for Jordan, 1.5 million each to his parents, and 5 million to their lawyers, right? So Michael Jackson's insurance carrier reportedly negotiated and paid much of its over his objections, framing it as covering negligence claims rather than admitting guilt. Now, right? So here's the thing, right? And they said that in that Daily Mail interview, right? They said that. They said that, right? Now here's the thing right here. They were, and I will say this, right? And I will say this, right? Because, Michael Jackson had never been found guilty, or he wasn't prosecuted for this situation, okay? But what happened is this. The cops came out. The police, right? The police officers came out that were actually investigated that situation. Those officers came out, right? And when those officers came out, something crazy happened. Something crazy happened. And what happened was, and I'm going to tell y'all what happened. Right? What happened was that the cops went over there, okay? The cops went over there, and the cops actually just did an interview about that whole situation, and this is what they said.
Eventually, he came back to America. We had the information from the victim about Michael's body, and specifically the markings on his body. So the only way that a child would see that is if Michael was nude. Then our unit prepared a search warrant to search or to view Michael's body, and this included the genitals.
We explained to him, we have a search warrant signed by the judge to take pictures of your private parts. He said, you also. The outcome was that evidence that was provided by Jordan Chandler, it was confirmed.
So he said it was confirmed that the information that the boy gave was confirmed by the cops, but that they had to drop the case because when that boy got that $23 million out of court settlement, that he refused to cooperate more. Now, Michael Jackson has denied this the entire time. He said that wasn't true, and that wasn't the same as the other case where he actually went to court for. That was a whole different situation. But Michael Jackson also stated, that he felt like it was okay, to sleep in the same bed with youngins. He said it, right? He said it in that interview. He said it in an interview with Martin Bashir. That interview is online. The interview is online, and I'm going to give you the exact quotes. And like I said, you can go to the Martin Bashir interview, right? He defended that. So he basically, and this is just me being honest with y'all, he said, so basically, in the Martin Bashir documentary in 2003, you guys can go find it, he defended allowing them to sleep in his bed at the Neverland Ranch. And when asked about sharing a bed with him, the youngins, he referred, right? He said he slept on the floor in a sleeping bag and gave them the bed. And then he added, I have slept in a bed with many youngins, including mentioning Macaulay Culkin and his siblings. Now, when Martin Bashir pressed whether it was worrying, Michael Jackson said, well, why should that be worrying? That's a beautiful thing. He insisted, when you say a bed, you're thinking, Michael Jackson said, when you say a bed, you're thinking sexual. It's not sexual. We're going to sleep. I tuck them in. I give them hot milk and cookies. It's very charming. It's sweet, Michael said. This is what he said, right? So when he was asked about that, amid the Arvizo allegations in December 2003 with the 60 Minutes interview with Ed Bradley, he said, of course I let them sleep in my BED. Why not? He says, I didn't sleep with a child. He says, even if I did, it's okay. What's wrong with sharing your bed? He clarified that he slept on the floor and gave the bed to the Arvizo boy, right? That's what he said, right? Then reiterated, I'm not going to do anything sexual to a child. I would slip my wrist first, is what he said, right? That's what Michael said. So people's criticizing, saying, well, bro, if you got 20-some rooms, why would you even need to sleep on the floor? Why wouldn't you go and sleep in a different room? People were very upset about that. This stuff was really said. Like, I think people don't go and look at these, they don't go look at these interviews that are up. So this is why a lot of people are upset about the Michael Jackson biopic. You know what I'm saying? I think that's why people were upset about that, right? Because they're like, oh, y'all skipped all this part, but you just made it seem like it was all peaches and cream. So a lot of people are criticizing that situation, right? Now, let's check it out.
And so it was that we came back to our meeting at Neverland with 12-year-old Gavin. I'd found this easily the most disturbing moment of the past 8 months. Some have, and they say, is that really appropriate? When you're talking about children, we met Gavin. Mm-hmm. And it was a great privilege to meet Gavin because he's had a lot of suffering in his life. Yeah. When Gavin was there, he talked about the fact that he shares your bedroom. Yes. Can you understand why people would worry about that? Because they're ignorant. But is it really appropriate for a 44-year-old man to share a bedroom with a child who is not related to him at all? That's a beautiful thing. That's not a worrying thing? Why should they be worrying? Who's the criminal? Who's Jack the Ripper in the room? This is a guy trying to heal a child. I'm sleeping in a sleeping bag on the floor. I gave him the bed because he has a brother named Star. So him and Star took the bed, and I'm on the floor in the sleeping bag. Did you ever sleep in the bed with them? No. But I have slept in the bed with many children. I sleep in the bed with all of them. When Macaulay Culkin were little, Kieran Culkin would sleep on this side. Macaulay Culkin's on this side. His sister's in there. We're all just jamming the bed. And we wake up like dawn and go in the hot air balloon.
we have the footage. I have all that footage.
But is that right, Michael?
It's very right. It's very loving. That's what the world needs now. More love, more.
The world needs
more heart.
The world needs a man who's 44 sleeping in a bed with children.
No, you're making it all wrong.
Well, tell me, help me.
Because what's wrong with sharing love? You don't sleep with your kids or some other kid who needs love, who didn't have a good childhood?
No, I don't. I would never dream of sleeping.
I would
never dream.
Because you've never been where I've been mentally.
What do you think people would say if I said, well, I've invited some of my daughter's friends round or my son's friends round and they're going to sleep in the bed with me tonight?
That's fine.
What do you think their parents would say?
If they're wacky, they would say you can't. But if you're close family, like your family, you know them well,
But Michael, I wouldn't like my children to sleep in anybody else's bed.
Well, I wouldn't mind if I knew the person well, and if I'm very close to Barry Gibb, Paris and Prince can stay with him anytime. My children sleep with other people all the time.
And you're happy with that?
Fine with it. They're honest. They're sweet people. They're not Jack the Ripper.
I suppose the problem for many people is what happened in 1993, or what didn't happen.
What didn't happen?
Just cast your mind back. What was that like when you first heard the allegations that were being made against you?
It was shocking, and I'm not allowed to talk about this by way of law. So,
but how did you feel about what was being said? I'm not asking you to talk about what was said.
I was shocked because God knows in my heart how much I adore children.
But isn't that precisely the problem? That when you actually invite children into your bed, you never know what's going to happen.
But when you say bed, you're thinking sexual. They make that sexual. It's not sexual. But we're going to sleep. I tuck them in. I put a little music on, and do a little storytelling. I read a book. It's very sweet. Put the fireplace on. Give them hot milk. We have little cookies. It's very charming. Very sweet.
Sure.
So those are his comments, and they got a lot of hella criticism, right? They got hella criticism, those comments, over the years. And so, that's basically what it ended up happening, right? That's basically what ended up happening, man. So it was a real serious situation that happened right there. You know what I mean? Then you had this.
What do you mean to you?
So I first became aware of Michael Jackson when I was about 2. And I saw the making of Thriller. And just instantly became obsessed with it. And wanted to watch it all day, every day. And started doing the dance moves as soon as I could, walk properly. And then quickly my walls were plastered with, images of Michael, and he was just this absolutely incredible, otherworldly figure to me that I wanted to be just like and I dressed like him every day and did my hair and had my hair permed to look like.
Now, you guys hearing all of these different allegations, all right? You're hearing this. Now, keep going.
Like him and, all that stuff.
I wasn't a huge fan before I met him. And then when I got the commercial, they did
Pepsi commercial.
Yeah, the Pepsi commercial. They did this thing where they would say every day that Michael's going to show up, but it was always his stand-in. So actually in the commercial, when you see me meet him, is actually my first time seeing him. And, at that point I was pretty excited. And so it was otherworldly, I guess.
Yeah, that was... Yeah, it was one thing to meet him the first time when I was 5, and I ended up dancing with him in his show. He asked me to dance with him in the show the next night, and, that was incredible. And we had a 2-hour hangout the next day with my mother in his hotel room. That was a whole nother level. Then we didn't have any contact for a couple of years, and then I met him again when I was 7. Mm-hmm. And this is when the, so-called friendship began. Mm-hmm. Here I was, this little boy from Australia, who I was so enamored by him, so in love with him, such a huge fan. And now, within the first day or so, he's telling me that we were brought together by God. that we were meant to be together, that he wanted to be my friend, and he thought I was amazing. He thought I was so talented, and he thought I was so sweet, and he wanted to spend all of his time with me. So this feeling of being, the chosen one out of all the kids in the world.
You had to feel very special about that, Wade.
Absolutely.
Yeah. For you, James?
Yeah, he's just quickly, very likable and engaging and gives you focused attention. And, he's disarming. He's a charming guy. And so you instantly feel very comfortable with him. Mm-hmm. So that sort of bond and friendship develops quickly. And then he does start saying, you're talented. You're special.
And him, the first night or so, teaching me the moonwalk. And, so all these things that had been so surreal and from another planet on TV were now a part of my life. And Michael Jackson was my best friend, as he said. Mm-hmm.
He told you he would call you his best friend?
Yeah. Within the first, day or so. Mm-hmm.
Did you feel like the best friend too, James?
Oh, for sure. Mm-hmm. It was very much you and him sort of against the world kind of feeling. So, yeah, you were very much best friends.
Did you two know each other as children?
No.
Were you aware of each other as children?
I had seen the Pepsi commercial that he was in. Mm-hmm. So I remember even seeing that commercial was like, that could be me, or that should be me. Mm-hmm. I wish that was me. But the only time I ever remember meeting James, or a couple times, was a little later when I was about 9 on the music video of Jam, Michael's Jam music video, which I danced in. Mm-hmm. And James was there with Michael as well, and we met then and hung out a little bit.
Mm-hmm. How do you go from Michael Jackson is an idol, we're friends, to now that friendship changes to what? How and when did it change?
So, the intense friendship with Michael started when I was about 7. Over the next 2 years, I still lived in Australia, and Michael would bring me out multiple times through those 2 years to spend time with him. So when we met the second time, when I was 7 years old, Michael invited us to Neverland that weekend. I think it was a Friday that we met initially. Talk about another planet. I mean, this was just the most magical thing I'd ever seen. Flowers and statues and lights and trees. Just
Ferris wheel.
Yeah, just incredible. And that first night, Michael, he kind of took us on a little bit of a tour, and he said to me and my sister, you can stay in one of the guest rooms, or you can stay in here with me if you want. And my reaction was, of course, I want to stay with you. And I think we all just kind of knocked out at some point. Nothing particular happened that night. We had one more night that way, and then the plan was, the Monday, that myself and my family were going to leave and go on another kind of vacation to the Grand Canyon. Mm-hmm. I was devastated to leave Michael. Michael was devastated for me to leave. He actually sobbed in front of me.
So you got to stay.
So I got to stay. And so it was just Michael and I in Neverland for the next week. And
your parents allowed that?
My parents allowed that, yeah. And then within either the first or second night of Michael and I being alone at Neverland, the night started changing. And one of the ways I remember it starting is, Michael just sort of starting to touch my legs and touch my crotch over my pants, and then it kind of kept progressing from there. He would grab my hand and have me do the same thing to his crotch over his pants, and then it progressed to him performing oral sex on me, him showing me how to perform oral sex on him, him showing me how to French kiss, squeeze his nipples.
Did you know what was happening? Did you think that was inappropriate? Did it scare you? Did you think it was wrong?
The couple days prior to the abuse starting, Michael had already started he started touching me, just in the sense of like hand on my leg, lots of hugs, kissing my forehead, rubbing my hands. So there had been this kind of development of physical closeness that was happening already that felt like a father, you know, just felt amazing. And strangely now, for me looking back at it, when it went to the next furthest extreme of sexual contact, something about it felt like just the next step. Mm-hmm. And
so this was the real criticism that's going on right now. You guys can look at the reports online. That's why a lot of people are going crazy online about the biopic, because they're saying that they cut all this out and then they took the budget, redid it, and then they're saying that they excluded all of these other things that was very important out of it. So they're saying, how can it be a biopic if you don't got the whole story? You know what I'm saying? Now, Michael Jackson, again, he was found not guilty in one of the cases in a court of law. But, you know, the other case with the boy in 93, the cops said that they confirmed the pictures in the boy's description, and that when that boy got that $23 million settlement, that shut the whole thing down, because him and his parents just basically dropped the charges and said, we're not even going to have, they said, so we don't even have a case. You don't have no parents, you don't have no case. Is what they said. You don't have the person coming in saying this, you don't have no case now. You know? And so all you have is you know, the photo evidence of what he said, but you have to have his testimony to go with that, is what they said. But you guys can go look at that. That's online too, that whole interview in the article as well. But, you know, so the biopic is getting a lot of criticism off of this. And so there are reports out now about it. And so, you know, everybody can pretty much, you know, tell what y'all think. There was a whole interview online with all of these things. The interview with Michael Jackson, what he said, I don't agree with. I've already told y'all, I don't agree with no man sleeping with no younger. I don't agree with that. I don't roll like that. You have to practice putting yourself in good positions. I don't agree with that. I don't care what nobody say. I don't care who you are as a celebrity, how much money you worth, how much great hits you got. Bro, I'm sorry. I don't move like that. It's not happening. But you guys, y'all know, tap on in, man. Tap on in. Y'all know what's up with me. Tap on in, because this is a conversation I think that a lot of people a lot of people in comment sections, they're still going to be, you know, it's going to be a anger about this. People are going to feel away, but it is what it is. At some point in time, you just got to say, hey, man, look, do you. Just how you feel. Do what you feel. You know, but I'm going to state how I feel. You know, now, like, again, you know, I'm just saying what the cops said, and I'm saying what, you know, Michael said out of his own mouth, and I'm saying what the accuser said, and I'm saying what the police said in that situation with Chandler. So, you know, you go look at all this stuff and make your own decision. You know what I'm saying?